The beacon wasn't aimed at us. I want to be clear about that before anything else, because the official incident report I filed afterward lists the cause of contact as passive intercept, agricultural emergency band, non-directed transmission. And that language makes it sound deliberate on somebody's part. It wasn't. The Dolphin colony's automated distress relay fired at the Verith expanse, 140 light minutes of empty corridor between their system and the nearest Vithani relay node, because whoever installed their beacon array in the original settlement had used a corrupted sector prefix in broadcast header. The signal went nowhere useful. It bounced off the expanse's edge frequency scatter and bled sideways across the band. I caught it at 0340 station time, which is the dead middle of Corseven's night rotation. Corseven is a listening post. That is the entirety of what it does. It listens. We have 6 antenna arrays, 1 junior communications analyst per watch shift, a small galley, and a window that looks out over a K-type star's orange wash when the port glass isn't fogged. My job is to sit in a chair, monitor passive sweeps, log anomalies, and wake someone senior if anything requires a decision above my pay grade. Most nights nothing does. That night something did. Beacon frequency was old. Pre-diaspora agricultural emergency band, the kind Earth stopped actively broadcasting on about 200 years ago, but never stopped monitoring, because maintaining a passive listener costs nothing and you occasionally pick up a stranded survey team on legacy gear. The Dolphin signal was using that band by coincidence. Their array was old enough that its frequency registers overlapped ours at the edge. Corrupted prefix meant the beacon wasn't flagged as alien origin in my system. It came in labeled agricultural distress, unresolved routing, and the automated triage line underneath read. Water reclamation system failure. Colony population at risk. I sat with that for about 30 seconds. Then I pulled the Dolphin colonial record from the sector index, which confirmed they were a Vethany-administered colony of roughly 4,000, that their primary water reclamation infrastructure was listed as aging and insufficiently maintained, and that the nearest Vethani relay node, the one their beacon was supposed to reach, was currently offline for scheduled maintenance for another 6 days. Their beacon was firing at a maintenance-closed relay. It had been firing at it for at least 19 hours before I caught the scatter. I checked the transit corridor. The Hestia's run was 11 hours out, a supply corvette running an agricultural equipment delivery to Waypoint Sevorath with a full engineering team aboard and a modular water reclamation unit in the cargo bay that had been destined for a different colony's irrigation upgrade. I looked at the reclamation unit manifest for a long time. Then I looked at the distance to Dahalvan. Then I pulled up the authority ladder for a non-emergency reroute of a supply vessel in transit. It said Duty Officer, Core 7, passive intercept of a distress classification, is authorized to redirect nearest available vessel at their discretion pending senior review. 48 hours. I wrote the reroute order. I flagged it for senior review. I sent it to Hestia's run. Captain Suvith acknowledged in under 4 minutes with the single line. Understood. Adjusting heading, ETA Dolphin approximately 9 hours. Then I went back to my sweep and drank my coffee, because there was nothing else to do. Governor Sarath Khan told me later, when I finally spoke with him by relay, 3 days after the Hestia's run made orbit, that he had been standing in the colony's main water processing hall when the corvette appeared on approach. His senior engineer had run in to tell him there was a human vessel requesting docking clearance, and his first thought was that the Vethani Compact had subcontracted their relay response to Earth somehow, which was unusual but not outside the range of administrative arrangements he'd seen. Then the corvette's manifest came through and he read it, and he understood that the Vethani relay had never received his beacon at all. He said the manifest was the moment. Not the ship, the engineers filing down the ramp with their equipment cases. The manifest, because the manifest listed, in order, modular water reclamation unit rated for colony populations up to 6,000, 1 portable atmospheric moisture condenser, with installation hardware, 4 agricultural engineers certified in arid environment infrastructure, 1 field operations coordinator. It also listed at the end a supplementary cargo item his translator initially rendered as consumables, crew morale, miscellaneous, which turned out to be 3 crates of earth-grown coffee and 200 kilograms of shelf-stable food provisions that Captain Suveth had pulled. Hestia's run its own stores without being asked. Khan said he stood in the docking bay, holding the manifest on his screen for a long time before he went to meet them. The engineers worked for 72 hours. They installed the reclamation unit in the colony's primary processing bay, placing a filtration assembly that had been failing gradually for 8 years, and that the Dolphin colony had been compensating for with increasingly unreliable manual workarounds. They ran a secondary moisture condenser line from the atmospheric collector array on the colony's surface dome, which the field coordinator said was standard procedure for an arid environment installation and took about 6 hours to complete. They left behind a full technical manual in Dolphin's administrative language, calibrated to their specific infrastructure, annotated by hand. Khan told me that the colony's water output at the end of those 72 hours was running at 230% of what it had managed the morning his beacon fired. He said his senior engineer had walked the processing hall after the Hestia's run lifted and had not spoken for about 10 minutes. Then Khan asked me, through the relay formally, in the careful phrasing of a planetary administrator trying to compose a proper thank you to the wrong civilization, why we had come. Said he understood that his beacon had misfired. He understood that Earth had no obligation to respond to a Vethani colony's automated distress call. He wanted to know what had made me send the ship. I thought about how to answer that. I looked at my triage log, at the entry that still sat at the top of my queue. Agricultural distress, unresolved routing, water reclamation system failure, colony population at risk. I told him the beacon came in labeled as a water emergency. The classification was clear. There was a ship close enough to Kim's before it got worse, and the ship happened to have the right equipment in its hold. I told him the routing error in his beacon header was actually why it reached us, and that I had filed a note with Vethani administration, flagging the corrupted prefix so it could be corrected. He was quiet for a moment on the relay. Then he asked what we would have done if the Hestia's run hadn't been carrying a reclamation unit. I told him we would have sent what we had and figured out the rest when we got there. He didn't have anything to say to that. So I closed the channel, updated the incident log, and went back to my sweep. The senior review of my reroute order came back approved. No comments, 41 hours after I'd filed it. I logged it, set the Bishaland Hestia's run back on its original delivery heading, and made a note in my station record that the Dolphin colony's beacon prefix should be flagged for maintenance. The next time Vethani administered a system check, nobody thanked me. I didn't need them to. The beacon came in, the routing was clear enough, and the ship was close enough.